I said, hey, you, feed the machines, bring them all back down to their knees, no time to waste. Remind the slaves, they ain't gonna make it out alive today. I said, hey, you, poison the well, watch it all burn, take him straight to hell. He's got the whole world in his hands, it was nice to know you. We've all been dead, come on. Did I do good? Did I do good? Oh, the moke. Well, the woke mover's not doing too good. You said and fascists. Let's see what Endymion's got to say about this. I already think I probably know, because you said and the woke movement were funding things to destroy everything that we love. Let's check it out.
The lunatics are attempting to run the asylum as the wave of change has flushed out a large majority of these insane individuals out of their own power. But as
they're running the asylum like one who flew over the cuckoo's nest. They think that they're running the asylum, but are they really? Are they really, or is it all just in their head? I think they're crazy. They tried to take over the asylum, and they thought they took over the asylum. And they thought they got out of the asylum. But no, they've been there the whole time. Electrocuting themselves. Instead of us having to do it. And we're just trying to tell them, hey, you're all insane.
As the tsunami claims plenty, there is much that is still being exposed. These freaks were running around like Arkham Asylum
freaks,
doing whatever they wanted and thought that they could not be touched. From DEI programs specifically targeting anyone who wasn't white into power, and plenty of yes they themers still trying to police the language. And even Reddit is trying to turn itself into a woke stronghold by pushing developers out of their own game threads and calling—
Oh man, I saw that. That is so insane. It's all insane. Like, you're trying to take over games. That's what they're doing. That's what they're doing. The whole time, that's what they've been doing. They don't want to create their own things because they know their movement's stupid. Well, they don't know that. But we know that their movement's stupid, but they know that they can't actually make things good that people will like. So they have to take over our things and get the people who, like, for example, want to play the next Dragon Age. And they have their hopes up that Dragon Age is going to be good or Borderlands 4 is going to be good. But they also know that it's been taken over and they're like, man, I've been playing this for years and years and years. I have to play the new one even if it's bad. And then it's ruined and it's bad and they're never going to play another one because they've been burned.
Calling everyone fascists. We'll start with Elon Musk, who responded to a post containing a Fox News article. This report stated that the Biden administration at the height of their power was giving over $1 billion in grants to anything that was DEI related. And this spread to—
How much money did North Carolina get? How much money did Hawaii get during the disasters that they had? How much money did North Carolina get from FEMA for the hurricane?
According to FEMA, as of February 11th, $72.3 million has been distributed to 154,577 North Carolina families to help.
$170,000 to North Carolina. $1 billion to all this gay shit that's destroying everything. That's funny. That's real funny.
Everything from government, entertainment, all the way down to local education. Elon Musk would reply with, "Those are just the explicit DEI grants found. Vastly worse is that every education and research grant made over the past 4 years required DEI in one form or another." Unfortunately, he's right.
I've been saying this. So many of us have been saying this. That the government, the communists in the government, are actively funding this DEI stuff in games and the movies and the schools. And everybody was like, no, 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 this is a natural movement. This is a thing that just we're doing in modern day. No, it is not natural. It is funded by communists. I don't know any actual real people who follow this stuff. I see them in public, but they're insane. They're all insane. They look insane. They smell bad too. Man, not all of them, just the ones that I know around here. They smell bad. They are unwashed.
Right, because as I looked into it, that did seem to be the case. As stated in that article, researchers at the organization poured through nearly 4 years of publicly available data from the Department of Education, to determine the number of grants and the dollar amount awarded to students and school districts for grants that had a clear DEI motive. Effectively meaning that a lot of these woke people, for lack of a better term, were gaming the system deliberately by pandering to the very things that have been destroying society for two sole reasons, first one being power, and the second, of course, money. As the article further stated, just how this money was broken down.
It's always the money, man. It's always the money. Money, 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 money.
Into where it went exactly. According to the report, $489 million was spent on grants for race-based hiring. $343 million went toward.
I thought that was illegal. I thought you can't hire race-based. You can't hire based on race. No way.
General DEI programming, and $169 million went to DEI-based mental health training and programming. All of this totaling just shy over $1 billion in total. This USAID scandal that, again, need I remind you, helped fund the entire agenda that tried to destroy things like video games, movies, and more, is currently having its skin flailed off by Trump's administration to discover where exactly all of this money.
Yeah, we're gonna give you $400 million to make games with DEI. So here you go. You get $400 million, you make these DEI games. And then they fail. And I think that if the government is offering you $400 million, can you say no? No, you can't. Because you know what happens when you say no to the government that's trying to get an agenda across and they're giving you money to do that, and you say no, they will use that money against you now. They're going to do everything they can to shut you down, like Black Myth Wukong and other games like that, Space Marine. There are active campaigns to get these games shut down.
Was going to and why. Some examples given that stemmed from this $1 billion in this case of woke propaganda, it ranged from a school district in Philadelphia getting around $4 million for a restorative justice program that was led by a communist. Another $4 million was given for a 3-week residential, culturally responsive computer science summer camp. This just means that they were taking kids who weren't white on government-funded school trips fully paid for, which is, yes, racist, but they clearly did not care. And smaller, but still great amounts, like $38,000 were given to Michigan to push woke book propaganda onto people via a consultant, although a name for the consultant was not given. Then we have Michelle Exner, a senior advisor of PDE, or Parents Defending Education, which is a group that pushes against these DEI policies targeting youth specifically, said that these grants do nothing for the
PDE. That, you know what I think that stands for? Pedophile Defense Enactment. That's what that stands for.
Actual kids or groups that the money is supposed to help in the first place. But instead, the vast majority of these grants are simply used to line the pockets of administrators, universities, and consultants who pandered to diversity, equity, and inclusion due to how ridiculously lucrative it all was. These consultants made an absolute killing during the Biden era. As we know, this stemmed all the way into video games as well. Sweet Baby Inc., while not American, is a consultancy firm operated by former Ubisoft employees.
Sweet Baby Inc., not American, is involved with a lot of American games and American game companies. Funny. Like Gearbox. That's probably going to be one of the main reasons why Borderlands 4 is going to fail. And Randy Pitchford is just letting it happen and bragging about it. He's like, oh, our game's so good, our movie's so good. You got to watch it, it's great. This is exactly what Borderlands movie is supposed to be. No. It's supposed to be like a Mad Max movie. And it seemed like I don't even know what they were trying to do with that. They were trying to show up Dragon Ball Evolution for the worst adaptation of all time.
That claim that they do what they do to bring DEI into video games in order to culturally enrich them. Although, as we can see from most of the games they worked on, their efforts did nothing but ruin these games, and destroy any of the characters that don't fit their skewed view of what game narratives or the characters should be. Spider-Man 2, for example, ended up selling about half of what the 2018 game did in comparison.
I didn't play it. I didn't play the first one either, to be fair. But I was going to get the Spider-Man game when it came to Steam, because I was like, oh, I heard it's really good. I'm glad I didn't, because apparently it's bad. And now Sony is having some issues where you can't even sign into the games that they force you to sign into and play them. So good thing I didn't get that. And then I heard Spider-Man 2 was woke, so I was like, well, there goes that franchise.
Harrison. Sweet Baby, of course, worked on Spider-Man 2 and was founded in the same year that Spider-Man 2018 came out. So thankfully, at least the 2018 game had no connection to Sweet Baby Inc. in any way. You can tell the stark contrast between the Peter Parker of the 2018 game versus the 2023 one, and besides the sales of the game faltering due to Sweet Baby's involvement, even the recent PC release was a massive flop as well. It only managed to hit an all-time peak player count of around 28,000 players on Steam, which for a game...
Yeah, it's because it's a bad port, for one, and another, it's a sequel. Usually sequels don't do as good unless it's like an epic sequel. And it just, man, Sony just sucks. All this woke stuff sucks. It's garbage.
That costed millions of dollars about the biggest superhero in the world, that is absolutely abysmal. Dragon Age Veilguard was able to hit a player count equal to almost 3 times what Spider-Man 2 hit. And that game, by the way, still flopped badly. To put this into perspective for you with how Spider-Man 2 performed. Do you understand how cooked you have to be that Veilguard, of all the things in the world, is outperforming your game about Spider-Man? This is what the taint of DEI has done to our video games, as well as education.
Spider-Man is an obvious win. You just have to make it Spider-Man. If you start adding in stupid stuff to try and make it your own, try and make it for modern audiences, you're going to destroy it. Like, did they not see that coming? I think that they did. I think they did it on purpose.
And pretty much everything else. All of it has been stained and ruined by the poison of consultants who charge hundreds of thousands of dollars to do nothing but ruin your favorite franchises or poison kids' minds for no other reason than to line their pockets and to ensure that their next grift, so to speak, is within reach once they destroy the current thing that they're working on. The USAID scandal, which funded many woke things, has been cut off, and these people are clearly reeling. And the absolute rejection of this has even led to places like Reddit now claiming that they want nothing to do with anyone who is pro-Gamergate or pro-Trump, and no, I am not kidding. Reddit moderators are banning and blocking any discussion in threads that begin conversations surrounding DEI, USAID, or anything like that. In fact, they're going as far as banning users and claiming anyone who speaks about these things on Reddit are racist, and they will simply delete your comments if you try to push back. These moderators are clearly hell-bent on ensuring that Gamergate voices are silenced within their communities, and it is a violation of free speech. It's one thing to ban someone for pushing racism and posting slurs, but it's another entirely to simply block all discussion simply because you don't agree with what's being said in there. It comes off as childish and proves that, like always, these pro-woke people know that they can't win any argument when it comes to their beliefs being challenged.
Also, they're just straight up communists. That is communist.
On an equal playing field. They know that their logic is flawed, and thus they resort to what they always do, grasping for any amount of power that allows them to censor others instead of allowing them to exist of their own free will. This sad...
And you know what? All these people are failing. All these games and movies and shows are failing. And I'm here for it. Finally, man. Finally, people are catching on. And they used to watch it just because it was part of the movement, man. And I know a lot of people who didn't like the stuff, but they were like, I'm going to watch it anyway because it's important. But let me show you something real quick. Google never gave a shit.
Google, this is funny, Google has officially removed Pride Month from its calendar app. Do you remember when I've been saying over and over and over that these companies don't actually care about these issues? They only do what they think is popular. Well, how about that? Fair weather progressives? They've never been progressives. They're capitalists.
Yeah, they're capitalists. I've been saying this the whole time. And LGBT people have been like, oh, you're just hating on gays. No, I'm fine with gay people. You're just all buying into all this stuff. And It's all just propaganda to make people more money and to get money from you and destroy things that are good.
They're going to go and cater to progressives because they think that's what's going to get them money. They did it for Black History Month too. I think it's a bit much. So they got rid of Black History Month as well.
Oh, based. Morgan Freeman said this, that Black History Month needs to just be gone because Black history is just history. It's just history, man. We should be incorporating Black history into our regular history as normal because it is normal.
Google has removed Pride Month along with Black History Month and Holocaust Remembrance Day from Google Calendar. Now, if
yeah, the Holocaust Remembrance Day, I think that should stay. And he's probably about to get into it.
you want my personal opinion, I think that Holocaust Remembrance Day should stay on the calendar because it was a real event. These are amorphous concepts. This is a real event of something that happened. My main point is that Google, I'm going to show you guys what this flag means for Google.
Yeah, I was about to say, he's going to paint it green.
This is what the LGBT flag is according to Target. This is what it is according to Amazon. This is what it is according to almost all of these companies. And now that these ideologies are less than popular, all of these companies are more than willing to roach out on the people whose rights they swore to protect. I have been repeatedly maligned, defamed as a person who is not an ally of these causes because I do not support corporations tainting them with their corporate influence and their ulterior motives. And now it's been proven that I was right. I was right the whole fucking time.
We were right. Hey.
Conspiracy theorists.
Ooh. Oh, this is a crazy one. We'll do that later.
Sadly isn't a one-and-done case, as the Lords of the Fallen subreddit has been hijacked by woke freaks as a knee-jerk reaction to CI Games, the developers, the Lords of the Fallen CEO Marek Tymiński, being more vocal and open to players' opinions. In case you don't know, Marek Tymiński asked fans on Twitter via a poll and simply asked if they should replace body type A or B options with male or female. People voted, and male and female won, so Marek said, okay, the fans have spoken, so we will update the game, and they did just that. It then led to a surge of sales for the
What is this game? Lords of the Fallen? What is this? I've heard the name. Is it any good? I want to play this. Out of principle, I want to play this, because they're actively doing things that players want. Asking them, hey, do we want body type 1 and body type 2, or body type A and B? Or do we want male, female? Which, by the way, body type A, always male. Body type B, always female. They always put female second. So, like, their own logic doesn't even work.
Game beating their projected forecast by well over 40%. And now because Marek Tymiński has decided to be more open with players and content creators, this is now bad, and means that he is now a fascist according to the literal subreddit of the game studio that he runs.
Which is ironic, because using force to take over a subreddit of a game that you do not own because you do not like what the owner did with their own game is literal fucking fascism.
Here's what the Lords of the Fallen mod said. The CEO of CI Games, Marek Tymiński, is actively supporting and promoting fascist ideology under the guise of catering to the player base.
At this point, everything that they say about us is literally what they're fucking doing.
As a moderation team, along with many gamers worldwide, we are deeply shocked and disgusted by the events of the past few weeks. They mean Trump, by the way.
Literally, everything that they say we are doing, they are doing. When they call us Nazis, guess fucking what? Guess what?
Response, we have removed all CI Games and Hexworks officials from the moderation team. However, we want to make it clear that those removed are honorable and decent individuals, and we have nothing but respect for them. Every interaction we've had with them since the game's launch has been nothing short of extraordinary. Unfortunately, this decision affects the wrong people. Our concerns are directed solely at the CEO and, at this time, no one else. So these moderators have taken it upon themselves to ban the people that made the game of the subreddit they run because they believe that these people are fascists. I can't.
It's so like, do they not get it, or do they get it? I think maybe it's half and half. I think half of them get it, half of them don't. Half of them know what they're doing, and the other half don't, because they're communists. They're fascists, socialists. They're all the ists that they call us. They are the racists. They are the homophobes. They are the transphobes. And they call us that.
Can't believe this is a real thing, but it's true. This makes zero sense, considering why would you want to cover a game or foster the community if the game is made by what these mods deem as fascist developers anyways? Would it not?
You know what I mean by them being the homophobes and them being the transphobes? They are afraid to not put gay stuff and trans stuff in their video games. They are afraid of trans people. That is the literal definition of phobe, is being afraid. I'm not afraid of them. I just hate the woke ideology. I have trans friends. I have gay friends. I'm also a Christian. I have friends who are gay and Christian. Because that can happen. Because it's, yeah, you're not supposed to be gay if you're a Christian. You're also not supposed to lie. You're also not, if you're straight, supposed to sleep with a bunch of women. It's all the same. Just don't be a fucking degenerate. And if you are, it's all about your relationship with Christ. And you work through it.
Be better to just leave the game or the fandom entirely if you apparently don't agree with how their CEO is doing things? And by the way, what the CEO did is not even bad. It's not like he's going around arresting people, attacking them, or anything like that. Now, it would be one thing if the CEO, for example, removed every skin color in the character creator besides the white skin tones. Yeah, that would probably be a cause for concern. But
It depends. It really depends. Like, is your setting gonna be medieval? If it's medieval, then it's mostly white people. If you're in a European setting, you're gonna get a white character. I'm cool with that. If you're in an African setting, you're probably gonna get a black character, or sometimes Chinese. Because you know what happened in China and Africa. Also Britain. So, like, I don't know. That was a bad example.
all he did was simply ask players if they wanted the character customization to refer to gender as male or female, or body types. And the fact that this small change was all that it took for these clearly left-leaning individuals to respond the way that they did is ridiculous and very telling. It shows that these people don't see anyone who doesn't think like them as human beings. They literally just have two modes of viewpoints. You're either a left-leaning liberal yes man who agrees with everything that they say, or you're the literal devil incarnate. They said more, and here's what it says. Over the past several weeks and months, we have seen a significant increase in hate speech, misconduct, and violations of Reddit. What the hell is that anyway? Whenever content from these platforms is shared. Additionally, we have experienced an influx of users spreading fascist views, both on the subreddit and via mod mail. Let us be clear, we do not tolerate any violations of our behavioral rules, nor do we condone or support fascist ideology. Anyone engaging in such misconduct will face a permanent ban. What?
Listen to me or we're gonna come down on you. That's communism and fascism, my friends. That's how that works.
Fascism or hate speech are you entailing exactly? Can we have examples of this so-called hate speech that you claim to be threatened by? Or is it simply that you are banning people for simply not agreeing with you 100% of the time? Cause that's what this comes off like. Not being a liberal, by the way, that is not hate speech. It's just having a different opinion. But these types have soaked themselves in the Kool-Aid for so long, they can't really differentiate between what is normal or insane anymore.
They soaked themselves in the Kool-Aid and then dyed their hair with it.
Because they're too far gone themselves. Nothing that Marek Tymiński said of CI games was fascist or racist or any other blanket term they want to use. The guy is a businessman. He simply wants to ensure that the products that his company sells
Literal voting is fascism, apparently.
are things that players actually want. And if players want male-female body type options over that of A and B, then it is within his power to do that and will it into existence. And I think clearly based on his decisions that it worked, since the game, like I said, sold 40% or more in its holiday period thanks to this single change. And to actually back up my claim, unlike these Reddit people who just lie and say, believe me that we've seen a massive influx of fascist speech with zero examples, here's Marek Tymiński, the CEO of CI Games, stating himself how his company saw that surge in sales following the gender change. This subreddit ran by clearly delusional individuals are now doubling down, stating that their subreddit is going to ban anything from X or Twitter, and one of the points they make says this: the spread of misinformation, disinformation, and propaganda has significantly increased. What they really mean is the spread of things we don't like or agree with or can't combat with our own logic because our beliefs are about as strong as soaked toilet paper is being
Yes. Yes. Well said, my friend.
challenged. Therefore, instead, we will just ban you for convenience. And at
Yep.
the bottom here, we can see that these new rules that they enforced will take effect immediately. Wow, how convenient, eh? So the CEO and the developers of the game that you guys cover are allowed to speak in your echo chamber.
Who still uses Reddit at this point? Especially, like, as a fandom for a game like this. Who cares? Like, get off of Reddit. Go somewhere else, man. There are way better places than Reddit. Discord is better than Reddit, in my opinion, and I hate Discord.
But only as long as they agree with you, even though you guys never worked on the game. Okay then. But when they do things that cater to the actual real paying customers, they aren't allowed to speak anymore. How is this going to work when the inevitable sequel to Lords of the Fallen releases? Are you guys just not gonna let the devs speak about their own game then?
Like, just make your own subreddit at this point. Like, don't just let a community run subreddit. You know what I would do? I'd just have it taken down if I was the owner of if I was the creator of a video game and somebody decided to kick me out of the subreddit for my own game. I'd be like, you know what? It's my game. And you're using my properties. So shut it the fuck down.
Because you know that with this gender change, it's going to show up in the sequel, right? You know that. Because if they were then to remove this change now following the massive amount of goodwill they just garnered, it would reflect poorly on them. So the end goal here is what exactly? Keep the subreddit an echo chamber despite the devs and CEO flat out calling you guys out for refusing to allow free speech to exist? As Marek explained in his post about the subreddit, the tired name calling is just lame now. And he's right to say that trust is built on transparency. What these weirdos are doing is
When somebody calls you the same things over and over and over and over and over and over again, you just start to agree with them. Not really agree with them, but like, you're a Nazi! You're a Nazi! He's Hitler! He's Hitler! He's Hitler! Yeah, sure. I am then. I'm not, but sure, call me whatever you want. I'll just embrace it.
ensuring that nobody new joins their subreddit. But maybe that's what they want, because again, I'm noticing since the USAID thing shut off, a lot of the usual brazen types have just shut up completely, almost as if they're no longer bulletproof. Imagine that. And here's what I mean by bias. At the bottom of this Lords of the Fallen post, the mod team says that using Blue Sky is a great alternative to X. Ah, there it is. Of course Blue Sky is better than X in their eyes. Because Blue Sky...
Yeah, I forgot about Blue Sky. Nobody talks about Blue Sky anymore. Because it was just like Threads. Nobody really cared. It was just people hopped on because it was trendy. Because all these communists like to copy each other. When somebody says something, they want to repeat it. And it just gets repeated by everybody. Right now, constitutional crisis is the thing that they're all saying. One person says it and another person says it and they all repeat each other because they're all in an echo chamber.
Is where a lot of liberal types, in case you don't know, ran away to once Trump won the election and they couldn't face the heat anymore. Blue Sky, by the way, is a leftist echo chamber. All the former Veilguard writers and devs, they are on there complaining too. You want to know why Blue Sky is popular with these types? Well, as you can see here, because I bring proof that
You see, I said echo chamber before he did in the video. not because we're in an echo chamber, because I didn't have to hear him say it in order for me to come to the conclusion that they're in an echo chamber. It's obvious. Oh, you're in an echo chamber, bro. I don't even care. I'm just saying normal things that normal people have been saying forever.
Trump won, these types ran away to Blue Sky, and then the team there had to quadruple their safety team after there was a massive influx of, how do I say this without getting age restricted? Explicit photos of children were being posted and traded on Blue Sky at an alarming rate, which is obviously very concerning and messed up. Weird how Blue Sky didn't have this problem until the mass exodus of woke individuals suddenly immigrated to their platform. But of course, they'll say there's no connection there. Stop looking at the obvious dots that connect this degeneracy to these people. Then this mod team ended their post with, "We would like to clarify that the developers have only been removed from the mod team. They are still welcome to post on the subreddit, including patch notes, AMAs, and engage in meaningful discourse with the community. This has already been communicated to them. As stated in the post, this decision is not about the developers but concerns the CEO." I have a question. Why would anybody want to communicate with you guys in that?
And like, it's just gonna get removed anyway, or you're gonna get banned if you get removed too many times, or you could, at this point, everybody hates the guy, so you could post something completely normal in there, and then you're gonna get piled on by these insane leftists.
Subreddit when you're so obviously biased and freakishly rigid like this? You ask me, it would be in CI Games' best interest to just open up their own new subreddit. Yeah, okay, Lords of the Fallen name is taken, I guess. So just call the new subreddit Lords of the Fallen 2 or something else, and then make that the new official subreddit, and then leave these...
The real official Lords of the Fallen subreddit. Or call it like Lords of the Fallen, the official subreddit. The official Lords of the Fallen subreddit is probably the better one.
Weirdos behind. And then ensure that the subreddit is actually owned by CI Games so that this sort of thing can't happen in the future. Because this is beyond stupid, limiting the devs themselves from speaking out in a place about their own game, the hubris of these types. Look at one of these comments here. The person admits that they're left-leaning and think that this is a gross overreaction by the mod team. How did the mod team respond? Of course, they banned them too. Amazing. So even being left-leaning is not enough for these mods, is that it? So you gotta say yes to everything down the line to a T. I'm telling you guys, this level of gatekeeping is just the beginning. It's gonna become more commonplace as time goes on. Just wait.
They're getting desperate. They're freaking out. They don't know what to do, so they're just gonna start banning everybody until there's none of them left. Because that's what they do. They eat each other alive. If you don't agree with one thing that everybody else agrees with, you're gone. And it changes all the time. The things that they believe change all the time.
For the next dev team to say that we don't want to put trans stuff in our game, and then another subreddit will suddenly turn into a segregated nation of trans activists overnight. I will bet money that'll happen this year too. It's not like this mentality of the lunatics running the asylum is anything new. Because back in 2020, before people even knew that USAID was directly funding the very propaganda used to destroy free speech with their own tax.
And what'll happen is all the trans people in that subreddit will be like, hey, the person who runs this subreddit did this thing that I didn't like, that all of us trans people do like. We got to get rid of them, put somebody else in there. And then that CEO gets in and be like, well, there's this group of trans people in here that are very problematic. We got to get rid of them. And then some other people are like, well, this CEO is problematic. They're trying to get rid of us. We got to put in another CEO. And then it just, they just keep trading off, warring with each other. Because they got rid of all the things that they didn't like. So now all they have left is to find things that they don't like.
Dollars. We had entire companies banding up together to take on this threat that they claim exists. As Niche Gamer reported back in October 2020 at the height of the pandemic, Electronic Arts, Ubisoft, and more joined ADL to push social justice and combat right-wing extremism in gaming. By the way, the ADL is the Anti-Defamation League, and these sorts of groups are, or I guess were, now funded by USAID as well. No surprise there that about 5 years ago, almost companies like Ubisoft, who are now dying from their low profits and are on the brink of collapse, and then Electronic Arts, which recently reported that they had their lowest finances since 2008,
You don't
were all
say.
a part of this push to combat what they deemed right-wing extremism in gaming. They actually believed that they could control the narrative only.
It's crazy when people call me a right-wing extremist when I'm like, here's the center, and I am just to the, well, I'll do it on this side. I am just to the left of the center. Just to the left. There's barely any room between where I am and the center. But I'm technically on the left. But no, I'm far right. You know what that makes these insane leftists? They're not far left. They are the leftists of the left. That's why I call them insane leftists, because there's no getting more left than where they are until they start killing people.
For it all to blow up in their faces years later and lead to obvious catastrophic losses. EA, of course, did Veilguard, and then Ubisoft did all the stuff that Ubisoft usually does, which is slop, and then they also have Shadows on the way next month. These games are all relics of what failed in the industry and pushed concepts that nobody clearly wanted in games. One of these groups that tried to ruin players' free speech under the guise of social activism was a group named No Pixel for Fascists. I'm not kidding, that's actually their name. This group has existed since 2020 and was founded to combat what these types deem right-wing extremism.
It seems like all of these groups and all of these things and all of this funding started in 2020. What happened in 2020? I wonder. Was that when the election was beginning, where Democrats were trying to put as much money into this stuff as possible to get their crazy people elected? Is that what happened in 2020? Also, COVID happened. Everybody was stuck indoors, and everybody was freaking out, and nobody was paying attention to all this other stuff except for COVID, so they could put all this stuff in without anybody noticing. Is that what happened?
Extremism in gaming. And they wanted to censor and deplatform anyone who disagreed with them. No Pixels wanted their movement to target who they deemed to be Yahtzees, misogynists, and racists abroad. One of the co-founders, whose name is Pascal Wagner, stated the mission objective of No Pixel for Fascists. The movement is meant to empower LGBTQ+IA whatever friendly and feminist game culture and wants to push back against its designated targets, both online and offline. Here's more.
Does anybody remember the company called LJN from the 90s, the 80s and 90s that ruined a whole bunch of games? Anybody remember all of these game companies that were ruining games in the 90s, that were just pushing out slop, all these shovelware games in the early 2000s? That's the same people. They're the same people. But instead of throwing out like a million games, they realized, hey, us throwing out all these garbage games is failing. We have to break into these other big games and take them over and make them what we want, because they don't know how to make good stuff on their own.
Wagner specifically mentioned Gamergate as a hate movement that was used by pro-gamer US President Donald Trump and his associates in the run-up to the 2016 election.
Donald Trump said that he wants to get rid of violence in games. He is not pro-gamer.
So Trump is a pro-gamer. Are they just saying things now? Because it sounds like they're just saying things now. This No Pixels for Fascists, also according to Michelle Jansen, who was another supporter of this, and also unironically specializes in language policing, which is woke talk for censorship, again said about right-wing extremism in gaming. People can be accused of being supporters of right-wing ideas even if they don't actually espouse them. It's enough to use right-wing rhetoric, or to allow members of your own community to do so, i.e. not exercise censorship diligently enough. Wow, these types are what we're up against when it comes to things like free speech and the whole Gamergate movement, I guess. And the fact that they believed that YouTubers were far-right fascists and tried to push this idea from 2020 till now, that's insane to me. But it doesn't surprise me that a lot of this was propaganda funded by the very same administration that gaslighted us all into believing that it never existed in the first place. As stated,
Not just the administration. I remember big people that I like. Charlie, Moist Critical, said this is not happening. No, there's no woke agenda. Mutahar, there's no woke agenda. It's so many people, especially just people on Twitch, big people on Twitch. But it hurt me whenever people that I love, like Charlie, were saying that there's nothing going on. You're crazy. You're just seeing things. Well, would you look at that? I was fucking right the whole time.
Near the end of the article, No Pixel for Fascists was supported by the German government of all things, where it was founded, and by gaming companies like Electronic Arts. How interesting that the very company that okayed Veilguard into existence also supports agendas meant to kill what they call right-wing extremism. Very interesting. As of now, I tried to look into No Pixel for Fascists, but I was also able to find their website as seen here. I'll even show you the URL in case you guys want to go look into it yourself. It's right there in the top left. And when you translate the website, the main part then says, not a single pixel to fascism. In their blog section, it seems that their latest post was in March 2024. That was around the time that Gamergate 2.0 began, which is clearly what they were writing about here. It doesn't seem like there's been much activity for No Pixel for Fascists since March 2024 from a blog perspective anyways. And the website and movement, from my eyes anyway, maybe you guys can find out more, but it looks like it's been largely abandoned. I did check their Twitter page as well, and there hasn't been any activity also since March 2024 where they also posted about Gamergate. But curiously, I went to check who they were following and did discover that No Pixels for Fascists was indeed following none other than Feminist Frequency, which is owned and operated by Anita Sarkeesian, who ruined video games and why we're all in this mess to begin with. Anita's Feminist Frequency has also been ousted to have received well over $500,000 in 1 year alone from government grants.
Anita Sarkeesian is the reason that Tomb Raider went the way it did. And I mean, the Tomb Raider games are all right, but they were definitely like, that was the beginning of the downfall of these, of normal games. Because they became feminist. Feminism was the original wokeism. And then it moved on, kept getting worse. It snowballed. And we all said that it would. We all said that it would. And everybody was like, no, you're crazy. Look where we are now.
And has also received around $200,000 from other avenues. I covered that about 2 videos ago, if I do remember correctly. And I don't know, by the way, if she got these grants from USAID as of now, but it would not surprise me either way. The point here is that all of these freaks are connected. They all tried to destroy video games and media in general to push their moronic agendas. And while remnants still exist, and they have now...
And they were like, oh, you play our games anyway. They're really good. They're really good. We love them. You don't have to play them. And then guess what? They don't even play them. They play them initially for that launch to get the numbers, but they don't stick around. I wonder why. Because they make fucking shit.
Now gone as far as to ban legit developers from the forums of the games they created. It's now up to me and others like you to stay vigilant and keep exposing these things so more people can know about them. Hopefully CI Games opens up their own official Lords of the Fallen subreddit and leaves that tarnished one as an unofficial echo chamber with no connection to the gamer franchise going forward. As for the exposure of USAID giving billions to DEI initiatives to ruin everything that we love, it's not surprising to find out that, but it is disappointing either way. The amount of damage that has been done by USAID's immoral use of funds to create woke propaganda is going to be felt by the world for years to come.
True.
The damage that this has wrought on the youth is a concern alone that don't think for a second that this movement is completely dead. Sure,
it's gonna get worse.
This version is, yes, absolutely, but these types always will find a way to rise from the ashes like the undead monsters that they are. And it's up to all of us to ensure that this time, they don't come back with a vengeance. Because
I think they will come back with a worse vengeance. I think instead of taking over the game companies, I think they're just gonna seek to destroy them outright. Just seek to destroy them. Use money to buy up these companies is probably how it's going to start. And when that stops working, they're just going to straight up go to the companies and burn them down with literal fire, like actual like riots and things. And then these companies aren't going to be able to exist because they're spending their time and money trying to alleviate the damage and repair and rebuild. And it's going to be real bad, man. It's going to be real bad. And I'm just going to stay out of it, and I'm just going to sit back and laugh. at these companies that allowed this shit to happen. They allowed it. Oops. Well, I ain't playing them. Mass Effect 4, ain't playing it. Borderlands 4, I'll probably play it months after it releases. All these games, I'm not playing them. I'm gonna stick to my old games and my indie games. Fuck them all to death.